Don't worry, we've all been there. We were all that new guy at some point and we made plenty of mistakes, myself included. But why start from scratch when we can learn from the mistakes of others? This video, we're going to go over the top 10 biggest mistakes that you make when entering the aquarium hobby. Let's go. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Kev from KaveManAquatics.com. If you're new here, this channel has plenty of helpful information on the aquarium hobby. I put out a new video every week, so consider subscribing and you won't miss any new content. Now, I do get a lot of beginners that watch this channel, so bear with me if the first few are a little obvious to some of you, but they may not be obvious to everybody else. I like to keep the new guy in mind looking for the most basic information because sometimes that's actually even harder to find. So I'll start with some very common mistakes, but I promise to get to the bigger, less common mistakes that almost all of us have made or are making. So number one is going to be adding fish to an uncycled tank. I know you've heard it before from your local fish store guy, from the guy at Petco, your buddies, and you just can't believe it because it doesn't make sense to you. But it's very natural to want to buy a fish, set up your fish tank, throw it in the tank immediately. You want to get going, you want to feel the glory of having a fish tank, but it's true what everybody says. You cannot add a fish to an uncycled tank. You must allow your tank time to cycle. Adding your fish to an uncycled tank is just going to cause an ammonia spike. You're going to end up killing those fish. You're going to end up having to start all over again. You're going to wonder what you did wrong, and you may even talk yourself out of the hobby altogether. So follow the instructions from your local fish store, watch some videos on YouTube, watch more of my videos. I've got one right here on cycling your tank. But it is 100% accurate when someone tells you that your tank needs to be cycled before you add fish. Number two is going to be not using dechlorinator when you do a water change. I know this is very obvious, guys, but trust me, there's some people, including myself, that when we start this hobby, we don't know about dechlorinating our water. When you do a water change, your tap water has chlorine in it. Chlorine is going to kill every living thing in your tank. It's going to kill bacteria, it's going to kill your fish, it's going to kill plants. Chlorine is a bad thing, and we must dechlorinate our water using Prime, using API Stress Coat. There's a bunch of dechlorinators on the market. Pick which one you like. I'll put a link to one I use down below, but you must dechlorinate your water before adding it into your tank. Number three is going to be too much light. Now, you may be surprised to find out that the light in your aquarium is not necessary for your fish. That light is totally for you, so that you can view your fish, be able to watch them and enjoy them, but it has no benefit for your fish. Too much light can actually cause stress in the fish. Too much light may even cause aggression problems because they can see each other so well, it may promote attacking or fighting or aggression. Too much light will cause algae growth in your tank. A general rule of thumb in the aquarium hobby is that you want your light on about 8 hours or less if possible. Number four is going to be overfeeding. Now, I've said this before in other videos and I'll say it again. If you're new in the hobby, you're most likely overfeeding. You probably need to cut it in half. Half. Overfeeding leads to overeating. Overeating leads to more poop. More poop leads to more nitrate. More nitrates in your tank are going to cause your fish to stress out, which is going to weaken their immune system, leaving them susceptible to disease, parasites, bacteria. This isn't going to be good for anybody. Oh yeah, parasites and bacteria are in this tank right now, and in your tank too. And the only thing fighting them off is your fish immune system, which is why it's so important to not stress your fish out. The least stressed they are, the stronger their immune system is to fight off disease, bacteria, and parasites. But if none of that made any sense to you about overfeeding, I got one that will. Overfeeding is going to give you ugly, cloudy water. So don't do it. Number five is going to be don't do water changes and clean your filters on the same day. This is going to disrupt too much of your biomedia at the same time. Instead, what you want to do is alternate between water changes and filter cleanings. If you do water changes every 2 weeks, then clean your filter the week in between. If you do water changes weekly, then you'd want to do your filter cleaning somewhere in the middle of the week. But don't do them together at the same time, because disrupting all the biomedia at the same time can cause an ammonia spike, and then you're going to have a bunch of problems in your tank. That's going to lead us right into number six, which is don't clean your biomedia with tap water. For the same reason that we spoke about earlier, the chlorine in your tap water is going to kill all of your beneficial bacteria on your biomedia, which is going to cause an ammonia spike in your tank, and you're going to have a bunch of dead fish. So do not clean your biomedia with tap water. Don't even bother cleaning it too much, actually. Just rinse it off in tank water. Don't ever replace your biomedia. Biomedia is good for years and years and years to come. If you need more information on beneficial bacteria and the nitrogen cycle as a whole, then check this video out. I'll make sure to link it in the description below. Okay guys, you stuck through the first 6, which was geared towards the beginners. I'm glad you stuck around, because now we're going to get into some mistakes that even some veterans are making right now, including myself as usual, but I've had to learn them the hard way, and now I'd like to give you guys that information. Number 7 is going to be not having enough oxygen or surface agitation. Now, I know it may be easy to just buy a bubbler or buy an air stone, throw it in your tank and think that should be good enough. But with time, we're going to add more fish. That's going to reduce the oxygen. We're going to add more nitrates to the tank. That's going to reduce more oxygen. So your best bet is going to be to get a good wave maker. A wave maker pointed at the surface of your tank is going to create a wave all the way across the surface and give you great surface agitation. This is going to make sure that you always have a well oxygenated tank. I've got a great video on wave makers, and I'll make sure to post a link in the description below. That's going to lead us right into number 8, which is not having a backup for your oxygen. Oxygen is so important that you need to make sure you back it up in case there's ever a power failure. The livelihood of your fish in your aquarium is relying on power. And if you ever lose power, you're going to lose everything in your tank. But the first thing that's going to kill your fish is a lack of oxygen. So you should have a battery backup that monitors your power source, and in the event that you lose power, the battery backup kicks in and supplies oxygen to your tank until the situation can be rectified. I got a great video on that as well. Check it out, link in the description. Number 9 is going to be not having a redundant heater system. Yes, I've heard many horror stories of coming home from work and you find all your fish have jumped out of the tank and they're laid across your floor because your heater failed and it stayed stuck in the on position and basically cooked them. So having a fail-safe system that backs up your heater in case it stays stuck on or doesn't turn on at all is very important. Guess what I got? Check it out. Okay guys, we reached number 10, and number 10 is going to be an oldie but a goodie. Big mistake in the aquarium hobby is not quarantining your fish. Come on guys, you know you got to quarantine your fish. Fish disease is rampant. Wherever you get your fish from, be it the local fish store or you order them online and they got shipped to you, your fish are going to be stressed out. Like I said, stress is going to weaken their immune system and they can catch many diseases that are very contagious. If you put a sick fish in your main tank with your main guys, it's very likely that whatever they have is going to spread to everybody. And then you've got to medicate the whole tank for weeks and weeks and weeks, which is going to be very costly. You can easily lose fish. You can easily lose an entire tank by not being able to control some parasite, some bacteria that has spread to everybody in the tank. Maybe you don't even notice it and you catch it too late. Very easy to lose an entire tank. So definitely quarantine your fish. Make sure they're okay. Medicate if you have to. Watch them for a couple of weeks. Make sure they're eating well. Make sure they're not stressed anymore. Make sure they're ready to join this tank of everybody who's going to be very excited to meet these new guys. Did you make it this far? Okay then, I got 2 bonus tips for you. Good thing you stuck around, right? For you new guys getting into the hobby, don't buy your first itty bitty tiny little tank. A small tank is actually going to be harder to maintain because you're going to have fluctuations in water parameters and it's going to drive you nuts. It's harder to keep your pH levels the same. It's harder to keep temperature right, and it's harder to test for nitrates and ammonia. It's just harder in a smaller volume of water. So the part 2 of my bonus tip is to buy a bigger tank, obviously, but what you want to do is buy it secondhand. Go on Craigslist or Let Go or any of those apps where people sell their used stuff. You can get a nice size 30 or 40 or 50 gallon tank to start with, and make sure you find something that comes with the whole set. They've got plenty of tanks that come with the stand, that come with the filters, that come with the heaters. Buy something that comes complete as a set. That way, not only is it going to be easier for you to maintain that water, maintain the fish, maintain the parameters, but also if you feel that maybe the fish hobby isn't for you, because it does require a lot of work, it's not for the lazy, ask anybody. If you feel that maybe you don't want to stick with it, you can easily resell it right back on those same platforms that you bought it from and take a very minimal hit on what you sell it for versus what you bought it for. So no harm, no foul. You were able to get in, you were able to have a good sized tank and test it out. And if you didn't like it, get rid of it, all good. Nobody's mad at you. Now, if my big head was in the way while you were trying to get a good shot of these fish, then check this video out on top. It's a great video on the 10 things that you must know about African cichlids. Or if you're a beginner, check this playlist out on the bottom. I put it together, perfectly set up with information for you to get going. See you on the next one.